thank you for joining us this morning for our first ever Wise Women in Sales Excel LinkedIn Masterclass. A special thanks to all the gentlemen that have joined us this morning, showing that they too support the brand and empowering women in the workplace, as well as wanting to brush up on your LinkedIn skills. Before we get started, I just need to run through a little bit of housekeeping. If you have a question throughout, please enter them in the Q&A box below. If you have a query, you can enter that in the chat box as well, which is also at the bottom of the screen. We shall be running a Q&A at the end of the session. However, any key questions that are relevant to what the speakers are talking about at that time, I may put forward to the speakers throughout the session. There will also be polls running throughout this session, so please make sure you get involved. Your first poll is coming up very soon. Feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. As you can see on the screen, there are our LinkedIn QR codes. To scan these QR codes, you need to have the LinkedIn app on your mobile phone. You then click on My Network. The bottom right-hand side of the screen, you'll have a little circle with a plus button. If you hit that button and then click Scan QR Code, that will then bring up your camera, allowing you to scan our QR codes and connect with us directly. And also feel free to shout about this session, take pictures, any posts on social media. We'd really appreciate you spreading the word of Wise and this LinkedIn Masterclass. This session will be recorded, so don't worry if you haven't been able to jot down all of the notes and tips. We will be uploading this to our Wise YouTube channel, and it will be emailed to you shortly. Lastly, sit back, relax, and enjoy the session. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our two speakers. First up, we have Chloe Richardson, owner of ACO Events. With over 11 years experience working with organisers all over the globe, Chloe is the ultimate sales extraordinaire. Then we have Natasha Layal, managing partner and recruitment director at ExpoCast. Natasha has over 10 years experience in recruitment and launched ExpoCast earlier this year. She's passionate about sourcing the best talent and supporting the next generation of leaders with their career aspirations. Now, that's enough from me. Over to you, Natasha.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Guys, I think are we going to start off with a quick poll as to why everybody's come and joined us today? So if we can get that poll up, that would be fantastic. We just would really like to know what it is you've come for today and what are your key areas of interest. So here's the poll. So if we could just take a quick vote, that would be brilliant. Interesting. Got a really nice mix, actually. Fantastic. So I think we've got a really nice mix of, we've got some job seekers out there, we've got some sales professionals, and just a general overview on LinkedIn for quite a few people. So that's fantastic, brilliant. So hopefully we can provide you with those tips that you're looking for. Okay, let's get started. Just trying to get this off the screen. So 37% of you are sales professionals, so that's brilliant. Okay. Rachel, Chloe, are we good to go? I'm just going to move on. Perfect. Okay. Okay. LinkedIn. So why is LinkedIn important? Of course, LinkedIn has been used very successfully over the years for an amazing sales tool. But sometimes I think we forget that it was originally created as a recruitment platform. So it was a chance for professionals to showcase their experience, and it was really just a fresh way of job searching, but on a much more personal level. So it's just important to remind ourselves of that, and that's what LinkedIn is there for. So there are 5 5 areas that that LinkedIn can help you with, and these are all related to obviously your job search, but these 5 key areas I'm going to go into a little bit more detail for you. So personal branding. Personal branding, I get so passionate about this. Personal branding is about your image, your mission, your value, your vision. So the best way I can describe personal branding is to treat yourself like your own business. So if you were a business, you'll be thinking about marketing, your USP, the audience, what services you can offer, and what really makes you stand out. And that's exactly the same, but for yourself. So obviously this can get a bit personal, but that's what makes you different. And that's what's going to make that potential employer contact you, because it's you. So staying connected on LinkedIn. So it's quick, it's visual, it's the most informative place you can find professionals online. It's a great way to keep in contact with colleagues, old colleagues, future colleagues, but it's not always about quantity. It's about connecting with the right people. So you can connect with individuals in groups through direct messaging, even group messaging. So there are tons of ways to stay connected on LinkedIn. News. Obviously, LinkedIn is a great place to keep updated with news and trends, but it's not just any news. It's a bespoke news feed, especially created for you. And that's really powerful. So, but however, that is only possible if you are doing the previous points that I just mentioned about staying connected with the right people and the right groups. And I'll explain a little bit more about that later on. Personal development. LinkedIn is a great place to advertise, and recently more than ever I've seen tons of training courses, online webinars announced, and a lot which are free. So it's a great place to go to find out how you can enhance your personal development. But again, just make sure you're connecting with the right people, so that those courses that are showing up in your newsfeed are actually relevant to you. Also, if you are a LinkedIn Premium Career member, you would also have access to LinkedIn Learning Library, and there's tons of training available on that as well. And I am going to touch on that a little bit later. So these are our 5 areas of interest there. So before I go into detail on all those areas, I just want to draw your attention to what I believe are the most important rules to follow when using LinkedIn. So authenticity, what does that mean? It's the quality of being real and true. And there is no point in trying to be someone you're not on LinkedIn, especially when you're looking for your next job. So to get longevity and to be working for the right employer, you need to be aligned with values, the expectations of the role and the skills. You cannot accept a job based on a fictional profile, and you need to be you. You need to be accepted for you. And like I said, it's also the real you that makes you stand out from the crowd. There is a lot of yous I've just said there in that sentence. Engage. I can't say this word enough. So this is how you will make connections on LinkedIn and how you can showcase the real you. So whether that be with your knowledge, asking questions, giving your opinion, sharing posts, basically the more you engage, the more opportunities that will follow. Keywords. So keywords. Apart from your name, your LinkedIn profile is only searchable dependent on your keywords that are within it. So when recruiters look for candidates on LinkedIn, they will be searching using the relevant keywords to that role. So for example, if they had a job vacancy for a sales manager in events, they might search using the following words: exhibitions, sponsorship, stand sales, trade show, commercial manager, etc. So then what will happen is LinkedIn will automatically show people's profiles associated with those words. So you really need to think about what words other people might be using to describe your job title and everything else associated with that role, sector, and industry. So keywords also teach LinkedIn about you and what you might want to engage with. So it's learning about you all the time. I find this fascinating. So when I mentioned earlier about having a bespoke newsfeed or being presented with relevant connections or courses, that has a lot to do with your keywords in your profile and not just your activity on LinkedIn. It sounds a bit scary, but it is very clever nonetheless. And just a little tip, actually, if you want to see what keywords people are currently using to find your profile, you can, if you click on search appearances on your LinkedIn dashboard, you'll be able to scroll to the bottom and you'll get a list of keywords that are associated with your profile. Now, if there are barely any on there, that gives you an idea that you need to work on adding more keywords to your profile. Value. So I would always recommend people to switch their mindset from what value can this person offer me to actually what value can I offer them. The more value you are able to offer to your connections, the more engagement you will receive, and you'll be showcasing your skills and attributes without selling a thing. So share your knowledge, share your value, become an invaluable connection, and opportunities will follow without a doubt. So let's crack on with personal branding. Creating the right personal branding starts with your profile page and first impressions. So make sure your profile is as comprehensive and up to date as much as possible. Now, the best way I heard this described is that your profile page is a bit like a shop window. If it's half empty, no one will want to go inside and look. There's not much value in there, not much going on. And I know that sounds really harsh, but I think it's a fantastic analogy. So let's take a really quick look at some of the areas that you would need to focus on your profile page. Cover photo, headline, being open to opportunities, your about summary, featured, and experience. And there are others such as education, skills, recommendations, but we only have so much time today. So we probably need to set up maybe a part 2 or something eventually.
Hi Natasha, so we have a quick question just on the search appearances.
Yes.
How do we find the dashboard?
Okay, so your dashboard is on your profile page, and I think, if from memory, I think it's just under the about section or above the about section, so in that area. So that's your dashboard. And on the right hand side, it will say search appearances. So if you click on that and you scroll down, that page will actually give you not only the type of people that are searching for you, so what roles they're in, but it will tell you what companies they're from, and it will show you how they have found you with what keywords. So it's a really good tool to find out how visible your profile actually is at the moment. Hopefully that helps.
Brilliant, thanks Natasha, and thank you Sora for your question.
So we're going to start with looking at your cover photos, just something a little bit fun. And I am going to run the next poll here. Let's have a look here. So I would like you to take a look at these profile pictures and decide which one you think is the most suitable to have in as your LinkedIn profile picture. Well, there's a very clear winner already within seconds. I might as well end that already and show you. So that's great. So photo E is the clear winner there. And so let me just get rid of that now. So photo E is the clear winner there. To me, this headshot screams, I'm approachable, I'm professional. And she's portraying a smiley, friendly, outgoing personality. So already we're getting a little insight into who this person is. So statistics show that LinkedIn members with a photo receive 21 times more profile views and 9 times more connection requests. So it is really important that you get the right profile picture. Just trying to move to the next slide. There we go. So your background photo. Your background image is a perfect place to highlight social proof or achievement. So if you have an action shot photo, this could be perfect. If you work in exhibitions, why not get a photo of you at an exhibition? Because that visual link to you and the exhibition is then made instantaneously, and without going into your experiences or profile, gives a really good idea of what it is you do. Be visible, show you are open to opportunities. So if you can announce the fact that you're looking for a job, do so. There are a few different ways you can do this, but currently LinkedIn is giving you the option just under your headline to turn this feature on. And you can check that it is on by looking at your dashboard as well. I think one of the things to be aware of is when you put an end date on your most recent role in the experience section, LinkedIn will automatically update your headline with open to opportunities. So that's fine, but make sure that's not the only thing your headline says, because at a glance, when you appear in initial searches, the sentence open to opportunities doesn't really give anything away as to what you do or what you specialize in. So it's less likely that people are actually going to click on you if you've just got open to opportunities next to your name. Your headline. So it's vital you get this bit right. So by default, LinkedIn creates your headline based on your current job title and company. So for example, mine originally was Recruitment Director, Managing Partner at ExpoCast. But there is plenty of room to include additional details and keywords that help you stand out and show up in much more searches. So for example here, I've expanded my default headline to the example that you can see, and I've utilized more keywords, and therefore I'm making myself far more visible. So a couple of tips there is the vertical lines you can see in between the different words and phrases are actually called pipes. And these can help search engines distinguish certain words and phrases, as well as making your headline easier to read. So they're not just there to make it pretty. And I only found out they were called pipes a couple of weeks ago. I just kept on calling them little lines. So there you go. If you've learned anything today, it could be about pipes. So your about section. So the about summary is one of the most important but frequently underused section. So a good LinkedIn summary promotes your skills and experiences, and it draws recruiters to your profile and helps you stand out from the millions of people that are on LinkedIn. So this is the perfect time to work on that personal branding message we mentioned about, your image, your mission, your value, your vision, by talking about your accomplishments, aspirations, and really bringing your personality into it. So again, this is the perfect place to use more keywords. So we've got another poll here, and these are snippets of about summaries. And I just thought it would be fun for us to have a little look and let you decide which you think is the most suitable. So let's run the next poll. Here we go. So which summary extract do you think is best for your about section? Oh, that's super quick. Okay, I'm going to end it there, I think.
We also have a question, Natasha, just touching on making a profile visible for opportunity.
Yeah.
from Kate. Thank you for your question, Kate. If you only have your availability to work open to recruiters, are you cutting off some opportunities? And then Sarah also mentioned, would this be visible to your current employer? Good questions.
Oh, that's a really good question. So the first one, sorry, could you just repeat the first one, Rachel, because I wasn't sure exactly what that meant, sorry.
So it says, if you have your availability to work open to recruiters, are you cutting off some opportunity? So I guess if recruitment agencies are the only ones that can see that you're looking for opportunity, are you cutting off other opportunities from companies that may be looking direct, I guess?
Sure. Okay. I think if you have in your headline that you're open to opportunities, as well as what your job role generally is. So if you're a sales professional, you can put sales professional within exhibitions, looking open for opportunities. It's not just recruiters that are going to be able to see that, so your connections will be able to see that as well, and they might know somebody that's recruiting, or they might have a new role that's come in their own company and they want to recommend you or refer you. So it's not just the recruitment agencies that can see you. So hopefully that makes sense, that answer. Sorry, what was the other question, Rachel?
The other question was from Sarah. So if you change the settings on your LinkedIn profile, so not typing in your profile header for all connections to see, but changing in your settings to say open to career opportunities, can your current employer see that? Or is it just recruitment agencies?
So I believe you can set it so that your current employer cannot see that. I believe that you can, but I don't want you to quote me on that, but I would be more than happy to go away and find that out and come back to Sarah with a definitive answer. But I think if there are lots of different ways of actually setting open to opportunities on LinkedIn. So I would go into the main settings and just have a little look. It's a really good question, though.
Brilliant. Thanks for your question, ladies. I will make a note of that question as well, so we can filter that.
Perfect. Thanks, Rachel. So these were the results. Let's have a little look here. So 28% said A and 70% said C. I'm glad that 70% picked C, because that's the correct answer. And I think what we can see here, so I'm just trying to stop this poll now. Can't seem to get rid of it. Has it gone for you guys? Is that poll gone now off the screen? Perfect. Okay. So yeah, I think C is the perfect example. He's opening with a really strong description of what his job is, but in his own words. It doesn't sound robotic, and also his personality is trying to shine through. So C is definitely the best option. A maybe, but I just don't. I think it's just trying to be too fancy. But I'm glad we all went with C, so that's perfect. Okay. Now, featured section. I got really excited about this section when it got launched on LinkedIn. So the featured section is new, and it allows you to showcase samples of your work. So this is a great way to provide evidence of your skills and experience. You can tag LinkedIn posts that you've created or that you've shared, articles that you've authored or published. So what I've done here is I've provided you with an example of what I've got on my featured section. And the featured section, I believe, is just before the experience part on your profile page. And what I've done here is I've actually highlighted one of my most popular videos. And actually, now I've talked about videos, I just want to take a really side step quickly for you. But the featured section is fantastic, and you don't have to have videos. You can have photos. You can put on their presentations that you've done. So it's a really cool It's a really cool section, and it saves people having to look through your activity. So before, if you wanted to kind of find out what videos people have done or what people have been commenting on, you'd go in activity and you'd click on posts or shares. So this way you don't have to do that. You just pick out your favorite bits and you pin it basically to your featured section. So that's what that is. So my sidestep to video content, I've been sharing video content for many years now, and what I've learned is that the more I relax and show the real me and take more risks, the better received my videos are. So, I mean, just like this industry stands for, there's nothing like seeing somebody face to face. So, and you really get to know the real person, which ultimately your audience can connect with. So they begin to trust you, and without directly selling them a thing, you've formed some amazing relationships, which is key for your personal brand. So I've got a few pointers here. Keep it short, snappy, draw on your personal experiences, but make it relatable. Think about your audience. How can you spark a connection? What do you have in common with them? Don't try and be too fancy with bells and whistles. You can get a free app on your phone. I use InShot, and it's perfect. It does the trick. And don't be scared. When you've got an idea, just trial it out. No matter how silly it sounds, just give it a go, and you will find that your content evolves, and you'll end up with a finished project that probably looks very different, but really good. So just keep going. And one of the tips that I've been giving out recently is, why don't you try and create a video resume? Add it to your featured section. How powerful would that be? How you would stand out from the crowd by having that on your featured section. I think it's really cool. And if you want somebody to have a little look at your video resume, send it over to me and I'll give you my opinion. So more than happy to do that. So that was my side step there to talk about a video. Now I'm going back to our profile page. So experience. The objective of the experience section of your LinkedIn profile is to give as many people as much information about your past and current positions. So the more you fill in your experience, the more full your shop window is going to look. So use bullet points. Keep it clear, concise. Upload media that supports this role that you had. Could be a video, could be photos, could be a website link, could be a presentation that you've done. So just be mindful when you enter in your job description in your experience. LinkedIn will give you some automated options. So it's, even if that's not quite your job title, those automated responses will help LinkedIn connect with you, and you'll get more views and searches in that way. Also, going back to the notify question that we got asked earlier, you can turn off the option to notify your connections when you change your experience and status. So don't feel like you can't make changes on this section without alerting the whole world, because you absolutely can. So your job search. So obviously LinkedIn is a fantastic way to look for jobs. You can either search for a job using the search field on the top of the home page, or you can directly access the jobs page. And there are different ways of applying. You've got the quick apply. If you've uploaded your CV, then you've got the other apply option, which quite often will take you through to the company's website. Now, if you decided to go for the LinkedIn Premium Career account, I think it's around £25 a month. So the key differences with this account is that you get more emails, so you can send messages to people that you're not currently connected with. You have access to job and salary insights. You can also see how you compare against other applications for specific roles. And your application does get pushed to the top of the list when potential employers are looking at the applications. But the really cool thing about LinkedIn Premium is the access you get to the LinkedIn Learning, which is really cool, and I'll go into a bit more detail later. Just conscious of time. Engage with industry peers and leaders. Be bold with your connection requests, make them personal. Chloe goes into more detail for you about that later. Don't just post, like posts, comment, ask questions, encourage dialogue. Join groups and be active with them. Just get involved as much as possible. Research the companies you're interested in working for. You know, make a list of them, go find them on LinkedIn, connect with them, start engaging, start showing them that you really know your stuff. And suddenly they'll be thinking, oh, who is this person? News. So if you're connecting and engaging with the right people, your news feed will be bespoke to you. But obviously, it's so important for us to keep up to date with the latest news and trends, because that knowledge gives you power, and that power gives you confidence to connect and engage with these people that you're connecting with on LinkedIn. So use this news to continuously learn and evolve with the times. And, you know, this knowledge enables you to make informed decisions about your job search. Okay, so now if, for example, everything's looking very digital, how is that going to affect my role? Everyone's talking about digital. I need to do some work here, you know. And the news articles will give you ideas for content, video content. So just really kind of take in as much as you can off your news feed. Personal development. So just keep yourself educated. And LinkedIn is a brilliant way to work on that personal development. Keep up to date with your industry. Again, I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but it's so important. How does this affect your role? What can you be doing? What does LinkedIn offer you to be able to work out what training you should be doing for these roles? Look at the courses and training that are advertised. And just join as many free webinars as you can. When have we ever been able to sit in on a meeting with all of our clients? Never, you know, and now we can, and it's an amazing opportunity right now. And last but not least, do use tools like LinkedIn Learning to really help push your personal development. Once you've completed courses, you can post your accomplishment online, add them to your skills list. It's just another great way to show potential employers that you mean business. So that's enough from me. I'm going to pass you over to the lovely Chloe. I hope I haven't run over too much time, but thank you so much for coming today, and I really hope that's been helpful.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you. That was really good. I learnt some bits. I've made some notes. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all okay. What we're going to do is now we're going to transfer over to my presentation. And now we're going to be looking at very much a focus on LinkedIn use for salespeople. So this is for anyone in a commercial role, anyone who's running a business, anyone whose main target within your job might be to have prospects and to create pipelines and to acquire those commercial contracts. So this is for you, and hopefully you'll learn a few tips over the next 20 minutes that's going to help you with your roles. We're going to break this down into three main sections. It's going to be about social selling. So what does that mean and how do you do it? It's going to be about communication, and it's going to be about customer centricity. Now, those that know me will know that communication is one of my favorite things. Not only do I talk all the time, but I am an advocate of learning languages just so you can talk to even more people. So I think having studied languages for a few years, it's given me a keen interest in communication and how we can use that effectively as salespeople to get the very best results. Now, first of all, and Natasha did touch on this, but I really want to stress, LinkedIn is not your online resume, and people often make that mistake and fill it out as though it's your CV. It's your online reputation. So everything that you do online that's part of your business or part of your job hunt should be via LinkedIn, because that is the way that people are going to be able to see who you are as a professional in a way that they want to engage with, not in just a way of, oh, okay, they've ticked that box. It's all about going deeper. It's about it being your online reputation. A few stats I wanted to throw at you guys this morning, just so we can really understand the impact that LinkedIn has on our sales environment. Now, just before I throw these stats out there, I do want to highlight, I come from the events industry. Many of you know that, and I'm sure many of you come from the same place. However, these stats these tips and these techniques expand over every single industry in the world. It's a transferable model. So even though a lot of the cases have been event specific, actually it applies to everybody. So bear that in mind as we go through that this morning. Now, the first stat is, as of earlier this year, and I'm sure the numbers have increased since lockdown, we have 660 million members on LinkedIn, over 200 countries. So that's pretty much every country has a box ticked. And out of that 660 million, 50% of those are active monthly users. That number is huge. That means that there are 330 million people, professionals, accessing their LinkedIn profile every month and are active. That's interesting, not only from a job seeking perspective, but also think of that as a pool for commercial contracting. It's amazing. 75% of B2B buyers use social media to be informed on vendors. So whilst you've had your discovery conversation with a prospect and maybe you've sent out a proposal, a lot of buyers now will go on to your LinkedIn to see how credible you are as a salesperson. Do you know your stuff? Are you engaged in the industry? All of those things are really important. So bear that in mind. That's 3 in 4 buyers will access your LinkedIn profile before they commit. Now, this is interesting. 50% of a buyer's journey is already completed before direct contact. What does that mean? Well, that means that your buyers are looking at you. You've got exposure long before you message them, asking them for a sales chat. That means that everything you put out doesn't have to just be relevant now, but you have to think, in 2 months, I might have a sales conversation with somebody that's reading my post today. What do I want them to know about me? So that's really key. That's a huge number of people who are engaging with you before you even really know that they are. 80% of social media B2B leads come from LinkedIn. Probably not a huge surprise, but again, huge numbers. This is a platform that has to be utilized properly. And finally, I found this one quite interesting. InMail on LinkedIn is typically 3 times more impactful for response rates than email. Why is that? Well, I suppose a lot of decision makers will have their phone on them all the time. They'll have notifications. It's a lot more personal if you message somebody on LinkedIn, whereas emails tend to go on the list. So if you're really wanting to reach somebody, an InMail is the best way to do it. What is social selling? So it's important that we talk about this because that's really what sales on LinkedIn is. This came from Hootsuite last year in April, and they said, social selling is the art of using social media to find, connect with and understand and nurture sales prospects. So that nurturing process. It's the modern way to develop meaningful relationships with potential customers. So you're the first person or brand that a prospect will think of when they're ready to buy. It's about planting that seed. It's about making sure that your customers know who you are so that when it comes around to making the sale, that decision for them is easy and it's a really easy close. Now, social selling, here are the quotes from last year, but actually it was the University of British Columbia back in 2009 who created the science behind this concept. So really, in terms of science, it's pretty new, but we should be able to use it now to its full potential. With social selling, there is a huge emphasis on communication because that's what it is. It's a social media platform. Why is customer-centric commercial communication important? I think this is really relevant to the times that we're living in at the moment. Strange, unprecedented, it's a new normal, and we've highlighted a need for change. And that is every single sales office should be moving away from the smile and dial sales tactic. It is not going to work anymore because volume is not the key metric. The key metric is customer satisfaction. Please bear that in mind. Any sales leaders that are on the webinar with us today, please reconsider adjusting the KPIs of your team to make sure they have a customer-centric focus on satisfaction, because that is what will produce those long-term sales relationships. It's about promoting the art of content and communication to enhance your social selling. We're going to go into content a little bit after this. It's making sure that as companies, we adapt our company-wide strategies with a true focus on nurturing relationships and demonstrating empathy. I'm sure everyone who works in sales has experienced over the last few months how being empathetic is actually what a lot of our customers want right now. And in order for us to have long-term relationships, we need to be empathetic now so that when they come back to having slightly bigger budgets and they want to invest, we are the brand that they want to invest in because we've demonstrated our empathy. It's as well about establishing ourselves as a customer-centric brand for long-term results. So again, it's about credibility, putting yourself in the best position to offer solution-based sales when your prospects and your buyers are ready. And of course, it gives us competitor advantage in the marketplace. So at the moment, this is really the time that we can create connections that are going to increase our stake in the marketplace. It's going to increase our share in the market. And the reason is because this happened with the financial crisis back in 2008. Those companies that were really there for their brands highlighted a need for brand loyalty. And it meant that they had a bigger stake of the market share when they came out of the recession than people who ignored that empathetic quality that's needed in a sales role. If you look at this slide, you'll see around the edge, there are a few communication cliches that I wanted to highlight and slightly debunk. So the first one is, it takes 4 seconds for you to make a first impression. The second, a firm handshake is important. It can be the deal breaker. The next one, the primary way to gain trust is by maintaining eye contact. And finally, communication is 7% verbal and 93% non-verbal. I'm sure we've come across all of those at some point in training when we've been having our sales conversations, but now is the time to really note these do not exist anymore. Sometimes they may have a small role to play, but actually when you are in that Zoom environment, when you are only communicating with your prospects and customers via message, via the written word, then actually now more than ever, what you say and how you say it is so much more important. Because if you look at that, communication is 7% verbal and 93% non-verbal. It's all about body language, which of course is important, but body language is now being removed from the equation. So all you have is what you say and how you say it, which is why now more than ever, communication in social selling is absolutely integral for that sales success.
Just have a quick question,
Yes.
Chloe, from Johnny. Johnny, thank you for your question. As a business owner and main salesperson, are these slides key for my personal LinkedIn or the business profile? Can a business profile link to potential buyers, or do I have to use my personal account? Good question.
No, it's a really good question. What I would suggest, and I have read a few reports on this, Johnny, on the difference between your business profile and your personal profile. And engagement with your personal profile is 20 times more than with your business profile. Now, let me just be really clear. You should have a business profile. It should be updated. You should repost relevant articles, news, content. However, the best form of engagement comes from your personal account. So whilst this is important for your business profile to be aware of it, I would say the majority of this is relevant to your personal profile, because that's when you're going to get the maximum success, the maximum engagement, and the maximum connection with your target audience. It's great to share posts on your business account and to have it there. You need a base, you need somewhere where people are going to go, but generally people only go to your business account to actually see what the company does. They're not going on there to get that personalized human connection, which I think is more important now. Hope that answers your question, Johnny. Okay, so a few tips for LinkedIn salespeople. Now, Tasha's been over a couple of these, but I really want to stress how important they are. If you're going to write down anything from my section of the presentation, it should be this, because these are key tips to make sure that you are doing the best you can as a salesperson via the platform. Customer focused profiles. So Tasha already mentioned the importance of having keywords. It's so integral that when you are writing your profile for the customer that's going to read it, not for yourself, and which is why it's important to move away from using it as a CV. You're using it as your reputation. So think, what do my customers want to see? If my customers are going to buy from me, what is it that's going to make them trust me? What is it that's going to give me credibility? What is it that's going to make that final sales step, that close, easier? And the answer is to have a customer focused profile. Next, turbo personalization. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this with connection requests, but this is about being personalized with every single message you send out on LinkedIn, whether it's a direct message, whether you're replying to a comment. People want to feel like, A, you care about their opinion, but B, you care about them as people. And it's the best way to accelerate that sales process is to be really turbo personalized with all of your messaging. Remain consistent. So we're going to come into this a little bit more in a second, but it's post frequently. Do not just post once a month. Do not just comment every so often on people's posts. Natasha mentioned a really good analogy about your LinkedIn being a shop front. If a buyer walks past a shoe shop and it looks like nobody's in there, the buyer's probably not going to go in if they're in a hurry, if they want to secure a product quickly, because they're going to think nobody's there. That's a waste of my time. Whereas if the shop is thriving with salespeople, with a receptionist, it looks like things are going on. Not only is the buyer going to want to get involved in that, the buyer's also going to say, they're going to respond to me immediately when I get in touch with them. And it's all about efficiency, isn't it? And saving time. So you want to be that busy shop front. Tash also mentioned value. This is a percentage that you really have to stick to. In every single post you do as a salesperson on LinkedIn, a public post, make sure 80% of the time you're giving value. That means you are sharing interesting articles. That means you are provoking debate. That means you are giving something to your buyers and your prospects rather than just trying to take it from them. Now, follow up on LinkedIn post engagement. A lot of people don't do this. If somebody likes your post, if somebody comments on something you've written and they are in your target audience, send them a direct message. That's a difference from marketing and sales. You need to be a hunter. Great, you've posted some great customer-focused content. You need to follow that up by responding to people that actually have engaged with it. LinkedIn connection requests. You should be sending 10 to 15 of these every single day. You have the capacity to have 30,000 LinkedIn connections. It's going to be hard for you to hit that. So don't worry. It's not Facebook where you've got to monitor whether you actually know somebody or not. LinkedIn connection requests should go out regularly. You should be growing your network. Remember, your network is not just your network, it's your connections networks. So the more people you have, the much wider the pool of people who are going to engage with what you're posting. And finally, promote your LinkedIn content via other social media platforms. Again, not many people do this. If you send a post out on LinkedIn, share it with your Twitter, share it with your company Facebook page. Share it on your Facebook. Why not? It's going to increase that engagement, and it's also going to pull in people who you might have missed on your LinkedIn feed. So these are the top tips. There are a few mistakes that you can also make. So if you're going to write these down, make sure you put a big cross through them after you've noted them on your paper. Don't avoid reaching out for fear of rejection. We are all salespeople. We know rejection happens all the time. That is not a good enough reason to not reach out. Especially now, people are slightly worried about reaching out in general because they don't know the circumstances of their prospects anymore, because people are going through quite hard times. It's not about not reaching out, it's about reaching out with empathy. That's the main difference. Absolutely, the second point, do not immediately pitch a product or service. I'm sure all of you have had that experience where somebody has gone straight into your DMs with a 20-minute pitch about who they are and why you should buy from them. If that happens to me, I delete and block, because frankly, they don't care about me. They don't care about my business. And more importantly, they haven't done any research to try and find out who I am as a person. So make sure you don't immediately pitch. Sending out a LinkedIn request is about immediate learning, not immediate sales. Following on from that, don't send out generic connection requests. We're going to do a couple of those in a second, but please bear that in mind. And again, don't not give enough value in content. If the split is 20-80 and you're only giving value 20% of the time, reassess your communication strategy and how you can rebalance that percentage. Don't limit connection requests to 1 or 2 people per target organization. If you've got somebody in mind and he's a sales director at Shell, then rather than just adding him, add every single person in his whole team. Why? 1, obviously more people are going to engage. But 2, if he's got people in his network engaging with your posts, they're going to come up on his profile. So that's more of a reason than any to make sure your network is extensive. And don't just post things. Don't just like the odd status that you see. Make sure you're really engaging with your target audience. Remember, the more engagement you have with them, the more they'll be able to see what you post. So every morning, take 5 minutes and go through, like, comment, share, do what you have to do to make yourself credible, engaging, and like Natasha said, really authentic as well.
We have another question that's just come in that's very relevant for what you're talking about, Chloe.
Yes.
From Hayley. Would you share sales posts on your private Facebook page? Good question, Hayley.
Yeah, it's a good question. I personally do rarely, but I do sometimes. And the reason is because my philosophy is I'm not selling things to people that they don't want, because there is somebody who needs the solution I'm selling and I want to be able to target that person. If that is through a friend on Facebook who thinks, oh, a colleague of mine or my next door neighbour or my sister could really use that solution, then that's great, because you're actually just helping somebody. And I think if you use that mindset where you're solution selling rather than just selling for the sake of it, then absolutely, I will link through to my LinkedIn post and say, for anyone in the events industry, you might be interested in having a look at this. So there's no harm in that whatsoever. Does that answer your question, Hayley? I hope it does. Okay, so moving on. These are the 5 C's of LinkedIn social selling content. So you will see I like to use lots of C's. It has nothing to do with my name, but there we go. Bear with me 1 second. Sugar Babes have just started playing in my ear, which I'm sure isn't part of the presentation. There we go. About You Now, absolute classic from the noughties. But the 5 C's of LinkedIn social selling. So we're going to go through, what should your content be? It's going to take 2 minutes, but it's really important. So the first C is commit. So what you need to do as a salesperson, as an individual, is pick 2 to 3 passions that you are going to dedicate your content to. If you're in a specific industry, I would recommend that is one of your passions. Me, for example, I tend to post a lot about language and a lot about the events world. They are my passions. They are what all of my posts are about. If you're posting about every single thing you can think of, you're going to lose your audience because you're diluting that focus. So commit to a cause. Second, curate. So have a look at what you can find on LinkedIn that supports that cause, whether that's images, news articles, other people's blogs, whether it's videos or GIFs or quotes, anything that you can find on LinkedIn that supports your committed causes will improve your credibility as a social seller. 3, create. This one seems to terrify people. I have a lot of conversations with many folk about actually creating their own content, and a lot of people don't like doing it. Out of all those people that post on LinkedIn, only 1 million of LinkedIn users have published an article. That is madness. 660 million members and only 1 million of them have posted. Somebody who's good at maths can tell me what percentage that is. It's really small. And that goes to show not only are people scared of it, but what a great market for you to make extra impact. If the percentage is so small, why aren't we as salespeople doing it? These articles don't have to be crazy long. They can be anything from a how-to, a top tips, a guide. There are a few tips you should bear in mind. It's the best, most impactful articles are between 1,000 and 1,500 words. And apparently, according to okdoc.com, and they've done a lot of research about this, so it's worth having a look at that article. What okdoc worked out was that articles with 5, 7, or 9 separate sections work better than those with even numbered sections, which seems absolutely mad. But apparently the brain subconsciously prefers odd number amount of sections in an article. I have no idea, but the research has been done and the results were astronomical. The difference in engagement was absolutely mad. So really create. There's no worry in it. You must have something that you're passionate about. You must have something that you've done as a business person or even in your personal life that you're really proud of. 2 years ago, I did a thing called Yes May, where every day in May I did something new. And I wrote that into an article and published it on LinkedIn. It got some really great feedback. So there's no harm in taking what you've done in your personal life as an achievement and promoting that on your LinkedIn. Number 4, connect. So I mentioned, obviously, keep those LinkedIn connection requests going out. Always connect with people that connect with you on your articles, connect with connections of connections, keep that network growing. And finally, 5, again, consistency. So we've talked about that before, but it's about remaining consistent. You all may be familiar with Hootsuite. If you're not, and you do find yourself strapped for time on a regular basis, it's worth investing in a scheduling platform like Hootsuite, whereby at the beginning of every week, you can dedicate half an hour, put in the posts that you want to go out on LinkedIn, and then schedule them, and then Hootsuite does it for you. So you don't have to worry every 5 minutes about posting out. So your 5 C's: commit, curate, create, connect, consistency. Bear those in mind at all times. Ooh, that got a bit funny for you guys as well, that slide. Rachel, Natasha, can you see that slide all right? Has it gone a bit strange?
It's a bit dark.
Yes, it's gone a bit dark for some reason.
We've gone into night mode, gone into disco mode. Let me come out of that. I'll try that one more time.
You are going into disco mode. Your music and the lights.
I'm getting overly excited. There we go. I'm going to share that one more time. Let's give that another go. There we go. So we're going to have a look now at some LinkedIn connection requests. Now, bear in mind what I've said, you're not after immediate sales. You should always personalize things. Let's have a look at 3 connection requests, and I want to hear your opinion on which you prefer. So it's pretty simple. So the first one is from a chap called Larry. So Larry has sent a LinkedIn connection request and it says, "Hi Brian, I'm a Marketo customer for 5 years and I use it every day. I greatly enjoyed your recent talk on marketing automation. Thought it would be nice to connect on LinkedIn." So that's your first one. B, Brendan. "Hello friend. In thinking about our respective futures, I thought it might behoove us to be connected professionally. So do me a solid and please accept this Valentine of the professional world. Also, I have some questions for you. Talk to you soon, Brendan." So that's Brendan's one. Finally, Exhibit C, Jeanette and Lindsay. So Jeanette sent out this request to Lindsay saying, "Hi Lindsay, I'm a career development manager and recently viewed one of your LinkedIn videos on YouTube. I love your content and would love to connect with you via LinkedIn and see how we can work together." So those are the 3. What I would like to know is, which do you prefer? I'm going to launch a poll for that. And then in the chat, if you could tell us, which do you like best and why? Why did you choose that one? So the poll should be launched now. So have a look. Was it Larry who mentioned how he's a Marketo customer and how he enjoyed a recent talk? Is it Brendan who wanted to get in touch with his friend? Or was it Jeanette and Lindsay? Give you a couple of seconds to do that. Five more seconds. Interesting. Okay, so 70% of you voted, so we'll end the poll there. So most of you, 62% of you, went with Jeanette and Lindsay, which is obviously the last one. Interesting. I will give you my insight on this based on some research that I've done, and that is when you are sending out LinkedIn requests, not only do they have to be short and personalized, but you have to demonstrate that you know who they are and what they've done in a couple of lines. So Jeanette's post is fine. Jeanette's request is absolutely fine. I'm sure she'd get a decent success rate in getting those requests accepted. However, the thing that I don't like about Jeanette's request is that actually it's not personal at all. And she said, "I liked one of your videos on YouTube." Which video? Did she actually watch my video? Does she know what I'm talking about? Jeanette's is very much, "This is what I do and I like you." Take that out of your connection requests. Whereas if you look at Brian has said, "I've been a customer for 5 years. I enjoyed your recent talk on marketing automation." He has specified what the talk was about. He's made it quite clear that not only is that not a copy and paste jobby, he's also interested enough in Brian to have done a bit of research, to watch his videos and to like what he's done. Now, if you're Brian and you get that, you're thinking, "Oh, he likes me." You're going to click accept. In very rare circumstances, is Larry not going to manage to get an acceptance from Brian? And that's what you're doing when you're sending out these connection requests. You have to bear in mind, not only are you sending them out because you want to have them in your network, but you want to establish from the outset a nice, empathetic, meaningful connection with your LinkedIn connections. And unfortunately, as human beings, we are very proud. We love a compliment. So it is absolutely the best way. So every single connection request you are sending out to a prospect, to a current customer, not only should you not copy and paste under any circumstances, do a tiny bit of research in advance, see on Google what content they've written, what videos they've done, have a look on their LinkedIn page at the posts they've written, and refer to that when you send out your connection request, and your conversion rate will be so much higher. And then what you really want is for them to get back in touch with you saying, "Thank you for that, I'm glad you enjoyed it." And then you would start a conversation with them. So that's about how your sales process should go, from LinkedIn connection request to closed sale, which is obviously what we're aiming for. Very finally, I'm going to talk quickly about tracking and measuring success. I'm aware that it's 12 o'clock and a lot of you probably have other things to do, but I think it's worth touching on this. So Natasha mentioned your dashboard on your LinkedIn page. So we're going to revisit that. It's so important that you track and measure your LinkedIn activity to make sure you're not wasting time and effort. It's all well and good sending out messages with pictures, messages with videos, GIFs, polls, questions. But if you're not actually monitoring the success, you're not taking back any learning, and you can't develop your social selling strategy. So what should you do? Every single week, you should have a look at your engagement levels on that dashboard. So that's the very first page views is what we're referring to. Have a look and say, okay, where am I this week? Where was I that week? And actually develop those measurements into something constructive. I've got an example. This was taken from mine on Monday. So I did a quick little screenshot of my profile views in the past 90 days. And what I noticed was, week of June 22nd, there was a spike. Brilliant, that's always good. But why was I 61% higher that week than I was the week prior? Have a look at what you posted that week. Have a look at the content. Have a look at the style of post and actually put that into your next few scheduled posts and think, what can I learn from that spike? So I make that spike consistent. So every single week I have 600 views, not just the week of the 22nd of June. It's also worth on this point, just bearing in mind, the average LinkedIn user gets between 1 and 2 profile views a day. So that's between 90 and 180 per month. As salespeople, you need to double it, treble it, do what you can to get those numbers really high, because you want your customers and your prospects to be engaging with your page and what you're doing. How do you get it to be high? You use social selling, you use content, and you use successful communication. Now, I have loads more to say about this. I will probably bore you all to death, but if you are interested, do please reach out, because I do lots of modules on communication and social selling as a few hours, because like Natasha said, there's so much to cram in. It's hard to get it all in 25 minutes, but I hope that that's helped. If you have any questions just off the cuff, aside from the ones we're going to do in the Q&A, please do get in touch. You've all obviously got my LinkedIn now. If you want to scan one of us, for those that missed it earlier, if you just go on LinkedIn and go on the QR code at the top, you can scan and add us all on LinkedIn. But now I'm going to pass over to Rachel, who's going to take us through the Q&A. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Chloe, Natasha. Wow, truly inspired. So many tips, so many things that I wasn't aware of. So I've literally made a load of notes, but I'm going to have to definitely watch this back as well. So we have lots of questions. So I'm going to try and go through a few of these now, or I'm actually going to, if you've asked a question in the Q&A, I'm going to ask you to answer live. So Laura, your question about CV, you should be able to answer live now. Your microphone's on. Laura, are you still there? Should be able to answer live. No? Okay, we go to the next one. Kelly. Kelly had a really great question. I'll go to Kelly to answer live. Kelly, are you there?
Do you remember, guys, if you're answering, you have to switch off your mute so we can hear you.
I'm here and I'm Laura, and I just managed to turn my microphone on.
Ah, perfect. Hi, Laura.
Yes, I had a question about uploading your CV to LinkedIn. I didn't actually know that was ever an option. I've only ever applied for jobs on LinkedIn by using the LinkedIn profile as an option, and I just wondered if you had a quick tutorial on how to upload your CV.
You can put your CV in a couple of places actually. There's not a specific area that it says this is where your CV needs to go, but you can upload your CV as a document in the featured section. You can also upload your CV in any of the experience sections under media upload. So wherever you see the option media upload, you can upload your CV as a document. And by all means, you could even put in your about summary, you know, you could tell your connections that you've uploaded your CV in your featured section if they wanted to view it, if you wanted to be open about it, obviously.
Fab, that's great, thank you.
Amazing, thanks for your question, Laura. And Kelly, I believe you had a great question about a side hustle. Kelly, would you like to ask your question now?
Sure, thank you very much. So thank you very much for making this happen. I really enjoyed this webinar, to be honest. And
Thanks,
yeah,
Kelly.
so my question is basically because, for example, in my case, I am working in the corporate world. I mean, I love my job, but I also have like a kind of community that women-focused community outside. So I was wondering how I can leverage my profile, but also the community itself on social media.
Yeah, it's a really good question, Kelly. I think obviously I would definitely have a business or a community LinkedIn page for your separate side hustle. That's obviously really important. I understand that there's often this conflict between people who've got two roles or two interests. I think if your content level is high, it doesn't really matter if you're keeping it limited to sort of 2 or 3 things. If your content level is high, it doesn't matter what it's actually representing, because at the end of the day, you're increasing your credibility no matter what. Now, if let's say you were doing something for a vegan company and also something for a butcher, that might be slightly different. And that I would suggest really separating those two, because you don't want to alienate one community by promoting another. However, if it's both positive, Rachel's a great example. She does Women in Sales Excel, but yet she also obviously has her full-time job. She manages to keep them both going on her LinkedIn profile, because actually they do support each other, because they show that not only is Rachel invested in the industry, but she also has great ideas. She's promoting women in sales. So actually in her full-time job as a sales manager, it also supports that. So it's that connection. I think if you can find the link between, absolutely, definitely publish your side hustles as much as you like.
Yeah. I just want to draw on that, Chloe. That was brilliant, a brilliant answer. But I actually saw on Rachel's profile, sorry to point the finger at you, Rachel, but Rachel's updated her background photo, and it's brilliant with how you've described, you know, one person by day, I'm another person by night. You know, you can unite the two, and obviously, you know, the LinkedIn is about you as a person, and all your skills that you do in either role are transferable. So I totally agree with what Chloe said. And just check out Rachel's profile, because it's a really good example.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I do get really good comments from clients as well. So the show that I manage is for accounting and finance. It's very tech savvy. And a lot of the clients I deal with are very entrepreneurial. So they love seeing my side hustle and see me like shout about Women in Sales Excel, and love knowing what I have going on kind of outside my full-time job as well. So that fits in quite nicely. So then we have another question from Alina. Her microphone's unfortunately not working, so she can't come on and ask it, but she said, "Hi Chloe, can you write an article that is not relevant to your professional background, or will that cause me to lose followers?"
I first of all think you absolutely can, and you should. And I think it really depends on what's your driving motivation for using LinkedIn. If it's to engage with people and to sell, which it is for most of us salespeople, you've got to think, is what I'm posting about my personal life, is that increasing my credibility? Is that making people want to connect with me on a different level, because it's about that human connection? So absolutely. I do teaching with, I do language teaching in my spare time, and I'll write articles about that, because yes, it's nothing to do with the events world, but it's showing people that, like Rachel with her 2 hats, is that we're layered, we have multiple interests, we like a challenge, we can succeed, and we're not just about that stern professional interface, which a lot of people used to use in the past, but now that doesn't work. People like engaging with salespeople that are different, that have more about them, that aren't just about sell, sell, sell. It's about, actually, I am a human being. This is what I do. I have beliefs, I have passions, and that is why I hope my client base will grow on the back of that. So absolutely, anything that has something positive that you care about, absolutely put it in an article, and make sure you've got the keywords, hashtags attached, and there's not a problem. And if you lose followers because you're posting about something that isn't just your industry, then I think that says a bit more about them than it does about you, controversially.
Brilliant. So we have time for, I think, one more question, because I know we're running over slightly. So Zoe, would you like to come on and ask your question? Zoe, you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you. Perfect.
Hello all. Fantastic webinar. Thank you so much, you three, for putting it together. I was wondering, what is a good benchmark number of views when you put on a LinkedIn post?
Tash, you have an answer for this. I actually looked this up recently, so go ahead if you.
I mean, obviously it does depend on how much you're engaging online, so that's going to be a big thing. But also you want to make sure that the views you're getting are relevant views. So if the people that are viewing your profile, if they're not relevant, you need to go back to your profile and start looking at your keywords and looking at the things that people are finding you on. But in terms of the number of views, I don't think I have the answer to that. Chloe?
I looked this up and nobody wants to answer this question, which is really interesting. LinkedIn don't have an answer. A lot of social media bloggers don't have an answer. However, there seems to be the common opinion that if you are getting views that are 30,000 and up, you are a LinkedIn influencer, where you can get money for posting advertised posts. So bearing that in mind as a benchmark for actually being paid to post on LinkedIn, which is a pretty high benchmark, I would say, personally speaking, I am happy when I get 5,000 as sort of the really low barrier, up to sort of 25,000 is my kind of key range when I'm doing posts. If you're getting less than 5,000 and you have a decent network of 2,500 plus, then you need to really think about, okay, what am I missing here? How can I change this? What keywords am I not using? Do I need to add more images or quotes or GIFs? So that would be my personal opinion on the research that I've done, because nobody seems to want to give this answer. So I hope that helps, Zoe. Quite vague.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Amazing. Well, thank you, everyone. That's all we have time for now. Please feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn and shoot any further questions over to us. Sorry for those questions that are in the Q&A that we didn't get round to answering, but please feel free to message us following the session. If you would like to have a more in-depth LinkedIn masterclass, both Natasha and Chloe do run longer, more detailed sessions. Feel free to contact them after this to find out more information. To keep up to date with our news and future events for WISE, you can join our LinkedIn group, which is WISE-Women in Sales Excel, or follow us on Instagram, which is @wise_Brighton. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning. It's been a fantastic session. We've really enjoyed it, so I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. And thanks so much to Chloe and Natasha, our amazing speakers, and we hope to see you all again soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Have a good day.
Thank you.